sabotage. By 1937, the world was waking up to the evils of the Nazi regime, so the motivation for destroying such a powerful Nazi symbol was obvious.
The Hindenburg was a vulnerable target for an act of sabotage. It would not have taken a very big explosive device to destroy that airship.
The FBI was called in to investigate and immediately began background checks on the passengers and crew. Everyone had been subjected to a thorough search prior to embarking, so the investigators were looking for someone determined enough to smuggle an explosive on board. Attention quickly focused on a passenger named Joseph Spa, who had survived the crash. Spa was an odd character, a German acrobat. He lived in America, which put him under suspicion as a possible spy. He was also thought to be supple and strong enough to climb into the ship's structure to plant a device. Spa was also found to have had with him a camera and a flash that could have easily been rigged to start a blaze. But the theory did not pan out. No hard evidence against Spa could be found, and the FBI eventually reported that the sabotage theory was a red herring. With sabotage ruled out, the investigators turned to the only other explanation they could think of: mechanical failure. In the days before black boxes and flight recorders, they had to glean all their clues from eyewitnesses. Despite 55 prior safe flights, the search was on for a design defect in the Hindenburg that could have caused the disaster. The obvious weak point in the design was the use of the highly flammable lifting gas hydrogen, and the investigation shifted to ways leaking hydrogen could have triggered the fire. The Hindenburg's arrival at Lakehurst that May 6th had already been delayed due to bad weather, and when she came into land, there were still storms in the area. As the ship flew in for her final approach just after 7 o'clock, hydrogen was vented from the control car to bring her back to Earth. She began her final tight turn, angling into the wind in front of the mooring mast. The final maneuver was the release of the landing lines. Only minutes later, the spectators and ground crew saw the first signs of fire at the top of the ship, just in front of the fin. Based on the testimonies of the 97 eyewitnesses, the investigators were confident that they knew where the fire had started. All they needed now was to explain why. Immediately, suspicion focused on the highly flammable hydrogen gas.
The investigators at the time unequivocally just assumed that since hydrogen was used as a buoyant gas, that somehow it got loose because it was flammable. Okay, where's the hydrogen coming from? It's got to come from a gas cell. Well, was it a natural thing? Was a valve stuck or something like that? They kind of ruled that out. So the next, what appeared to be logical was that a gas cell was breached by some technique. In other words, it was torn or something like that.
But the hydrogen breach hypothesis was little more than speculation. Using the investigative tools available at the time, the inquiry found no evidence to back the idea that a cell had leaked. Nevertheless, since no other explanation was available, the investigators put forth what seemed like an entirely logical theory, with hydrogen at its center. They concluded that hydrogen had leaked, combined with air to form a lethal mix, and was then ignited by a spark from a buildup of static electricity.
Hydrogen was the weak point in the concept, if you will. It was flammable, very flammable when mixed with air, and it ignited. Simple as that.
The 63-page Department of Commerce accident report concluded. The cause of the accident was the ignition of a mixture of free hydrogen and air. Based upon the evidence, a leak caused a combustible mixture of hydrogen and air to form in the upper stern part of the ship in considerable quantity. The first appearance of an open flame was on top of the ship and a relatively short distance forward of the upper vertical fin. Today, vast Hangar 1 at Lakehurst lies empty. Because of the official verdict blaming hydrogen, The great Zeppelin passenger airships never flew again, and hydrogen was permanently tarnished as an unsafe, explosive gas.
After the Hindenberg, I would say there was a decline in all airships in Lakehurst. And no matter how we fought, we just couldn't get them back in. The decline was very bad after the Hindenberg.